Hi, and welcome to the first ever Black Sheep podcast. My name is Shirley Barad. I know you're probably like, who is this person? And I totally get it. Yeah, my name is Shirley Barad. I'm the youngest of an older sister. Just me and her grew up together. And I'm a black sheep, and I'm happy and I'm proud, and it's made me the person I am today. You know, some lessons I wish I didn't have to go through, but it makes you who you are. And, looking back, I do wish that it didn't have to be so hard. You know, I grew up with two parents, a mom and a dad. My dad made it very abundantly clear that, I was the favorite, which I understand now at my age that that was not normal or healthy. And I totally can see it in my sister's eyes how that could definitely not be good. But me and my mom's relationship was just not ever like that closeness. It was always some type of drift between us. She enjoyed telling me and my sister, comparing us growing up. And, my sister was a smart one and was this and that. And she made it clear to make it and tell me that I was the bad one. Hearing that at 3 is definitely, you can grow up with some ideas of who you are. And it kind of molds you into who you are when somebody's telling you who you are before you can even decide who you are. And yeah, as I've gotten older, I've realized that's not me. I had to really reprogram a lot of things about myself. And I'm sure other people have had to deal with that too. But when you really finally see it and see that, oh my God, I was this, I was that. Like growing up, I was like, I have nothing. Like, I'm not good at anything because nobody was ever telling me that I was good at anything. They just were like, my dad would be like, she's the pretty one. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? I mean, maybe some people are like, oh, that's awesome. I'm the pretty one. No, when I was growing up, I was like, that's all I have to offer. I'm the pretty one. But yeah, now looking at it, I'm just like, that's insane. And I see it now that, I was actually very creative growing up and still am. I didn't see that. Like nobody said it. Nobody pointed it out. I couldn't see it because I was too busy hearing how bad I was. And I never knew what I did that was bad. I would have to ask her and be like, hey, what is it that I'm doing? And she could never tell me. So growing up, yeah, she would say things to me and it just I didn't know how to defend myself, and at the same time, I was 3 and growing up, and I remember I made a prayer to God, and of course, it took some time for that prayer to come true. It took 3 years for I asked him to, like, make me strong, make me not cry when I would get words and mean things said to me, and eventually, it took about 3 or 4 years, I stopped crying. I made that prayer at, like, 3 or 4. I remember that. People may think, "Oh, that yeah, right." But when you grow up in dysfunction, you grow up quickly. And mentally, I grew up quickly. And I was quiet, so nobody knew what I was thinking or feeling. So I made that prayer. And then around teenage years, anywhere from like 13 and maybe 17, 18, I started talking back and slick with my mouth. I mean, you're not going to talk to me all crazy and think I'm not going to say nothing. So I started saying things and back and forth, but she has this thing with her. She's very good with her mouth. Like she knows how to hit you where it's like below the belt, it's stabbing somebody in the knife. And she's still to this day good with that. I wasn't there yet. I was still like, I'd say things, she would say something and I'd be like, "Ugh," and I'd say something back. And, and that relationship just never really evolved better than that. I mean, growing up, I didn't have I had the comebacks, it got there, but it was never to her level. But as I got even older, it got to her level. It got there, which is not a good thing. I'm very proud. Well, parts of it, because, you can use that when you need it. And being a black sheep, you need that. And it got to that level. But me and my relationship with my mother never grew, never evolved. And when you get older in age, it needs to evolve. If you're still trying to pick and attack me, or it's just not, and it's just never, it gets to a point where you're like, this is old. And you just kinda get tired of it. You set those boundaries. If you have to, you cut the family off because it's like, this is old, and it bleeds into other relationships that you have. Like, it bled everywhere in other relationships, friendships, relationships. It's just, and when I finally saw it, I was like, "Whoa, I need to fix this. I need to heal this because I will never have a relationship." And I can say, obviously there's still some healing that needs to be done, but I can say that I healed that part, that I'm very proud of that. I set those boundaries, I healed it. But, really, I just wanted to give you a little background story on me, but also what the point of this podcast is. I really wanted to start this podcast because I'm a Black sheep, and I'm on the Black sheep spiritual side of TikTok, and I always knew that there were Black sheeps in families. I just never knew how many of us there were. Being on the Black sheep side of TikTok, I was like, "There's so many of us." And I feel like, why not now? We need something like this where we can connect. And a lot of us are going through the healing journey. And that is not a coincidence for us to all be just healing at the same time, like collectively. And I just want to connect with other Black sheep, see what's going on with you. What's your story? I'm not like saying that this is going to be a podcast where we tell our life stories or anything like that, which, hey, if it turns out to be that, hey, for it, we'd be telling our truth, not lying, because we are the truth tellers of the family. And I just wanted a space for us to really be able to connect and just be able to talk. And yeah, that's what I want. I just feel like this is a place where it can be whatever we want it to be. This podcast could be, a place to tell your story. It could be a place like, what do you have going on? What business you've started? A place to cheer each other on. It really could be anything. And that's what I really wanted to start. I just feel like this is long overdue for us to have a space. There is a lot of us out there. And I wanted to start something. And why not? You have to kind of break that wall down to get results. And for any Black sheeps out there going through the trenches, I like to call it, you're still going through it. You're either living with family or whatever. I just want you to know that you're not what they say you are. You are better than that. You are going to do great things. Don't allow them to limit you. And just don't listen to what they say because it can become very draining, especially hearing it for years. That does something truly to you and your psyche and to the person you become and everything, the way you interact with people and the way you have relationships. And if you haven't gone through all the things that us Black sheeps have to go through yet, I'm talking to the upcoming Black sheeps because, it's just a cycle that just keeps going, never ends. And just know that you are great and you will do great things. Just continue doing what you're doing. Move in silence because that's what we have to do. And yeah, that's really what I'm trying to say for that. But yeah, what this podcast is also for, anybody who have family who can't take any accountability, welcome to the podcast. If you're in your isolation phase of your journey, welcome to the podcast. If you're in your triggering phase of your journey, welcome. Whatever phase that you are in your journey, your healing journey, or even if you haven't even started the healing journey, you haven't even gotten there yet, a place where we can connect and tell you what's going to come because it should come with a freaking warning. It doesn't. You're just out here figuring it out. Let me just start with a story. It's going to be short. I had a friend, let's call her Eva, and I had no idea what was going on. About like 4.5 years ago, I was going through my journey, and I had a glass of wine, and I was drinking wine, and I was like, lately I drink wine, I get headaches, and it's like, maybe I can't drink cheap wine anymore. I was like telling her I didn't know. And she was just like, "You sound like you're going through a spiritual journey." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, you sound like you're going through a spiritual journey." She's like, "Look it up, but it sounds like you're in the beginning phase of it." And she's like, "That's a great thing, blah, blah, blah." And I'm just like, "Oh, okay." So I looked it up and I was like, "Yeah, this is definitely what I'm going through." But, if I didn't know, I thought there was something wrong with me. I'm like, "I don't know what's going on. All these emotions and feelings and triggers are coming out." And it was like, for so many years, I held it in. I didn't allow it to, like, come out. I held it in. And that's not normal. That's not healthy to hold something in like that. You gotta let it out. And yeah, I held it in, and finally, holding all those emotions in, they come out of you like pew, pew, like all different directions. It got to a point where there was so many holes in, things, memories that I suppressed for so long coming out that I couldn't hold it in. And that's just not normal, not healthy. I mean, when they say that stuff will come out, it will come out when you least expect it. I remember hearing that as a kid, and they'd be like, "Oh, you shouldn't suppress your feelings. They'll come out." Yeah, that stuff really came out. And when it came out, it reared its ugly head, and I had every form of emotion. The first emotion that came out was rage. Then it was anger. I never got to, like, my emotional phase, like, the phase where you just stop crying everywhere, which I'm not surprised, dealing with family the way I did, and I was quiet, my mother, she was the type of person, like, she liked to get to you, like, she liked to hit the nerve, and, I got really good at controlling my emotions growing up. To this day, I have a poker face, you can't tell my emotions, and I'm quiet on top of that. You can't read me. And, I'm proud of that, but at the same time, trying to heal that is not good because I don't know how to do that, like, really dive into the emotions. I did a meditation, because my friend Eva, she was like, "Oh, my emotions are like a big ball, a big blue ball, like, bigger than me, the size of a room," her emotions. And when I got to my spiritual journey at a certain point, I was like, "Okay, I need to finally dig deep and get to the emotion where I'm, like, crying, I'm releasing this because anger and rage, cool, but you gotta have a good cry, I think." And I never got there. And so I was like, "Okay, I need to dive deep." So I did this thing called rapid transformational therapy, which is basically meditation, and they like to say it's meditation like 2.0. And I did that, and, I saw my emotions, and they were a room of lava. My emotions are a room of lava. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, "Oh, so my emotions are lava." And when I saw it, when I this rapid transformation therapy, this meditation, it was insane because it was like somebody was narrating it, and they were like, "Okay, you can either dive into these emotions today or, like, take this on now." And I was like, can I take on part of it?" And they were like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, well, then I'm not dealing with this." And they're like, "You're gonna have to deal with it at some point." Needless to say, I have not dealt with that emotion yet. I have not dealt with the rim of lava. And I know that's to come, or maybe it's gonna be bits and pieces of it, but it's just the fact that your emotions are a rim of lava. And when I saw it, you could see the steam coming off the lava. It's like, "Oh, do you want to dive into this rim of emotions of lava?" "No, I really don't. Can we lock it up and set it on fire or release it somewhere where I don't have to deal with that?" I mean, it's not hurting me right at this moment. I've already dealt with it so many years. Like, I think a few more years, I mean, let's just see where it takes us. But, yeah, that was just crazy to when I meditated and saw a room of lava. I was like, "Whoa, I have so many suppressed emotions I have buried for so long. That is not healthy." Um, but yeah, it was just crazy, but I wanted to share that. But yeah, I just want this podcast to be something amazing, uplifting, and just healing for all of us. And I really do want to just connect with other Black sheeps. Let's do what our family could never do. Let's support each other. So if you're graduating and family didn't show up, welcome to the podcast and congratulations. If you have family who can't take any accountability, welcome to the podcast. Take a seat. If you're got a business that you're starting, could be baking, it could be you wrote a book, anything, welcome to the podcast. Take a seat, we're going to make this good. If you have social media and you're trying to put yourself out there, you know, welcome, take a seat. The tea is always going to be hot over here, but yeah. So I wanted to make this short and sweet for the first episode. I really hope I was able to get my point across and you could feel my energy and goodness. And that's what I really wanted for this podcast. I was overthinking it. And finally, you know how long I've been trying to do this podcast? It's been about a year. And life happened, but finally I was like, I'm doing it. I thought about it every single day and I'm like, I'm just doing it. Who will find it will find it and they will get it. And I did it. And here it is, the first episode. Yay. And I'm so proud and happy. I think I would have regretted if I didn't do it, but I'm glad I did it. And I hope it finds who it needs to find. And, I wish I had something like this growing up. This would have helped just to hear other Black sheeps. It would have helped. And just to connect because, you go through that isolation phase, which mine has lasted like 2.5 years, maybe longer. I've lost count. And you see all your friends, so-called friends that you thought were your friends stab you in the back in ways that you're just like, wow, that was so messed up. I would never do that to you. But also, like I said, being a Black sheep, you have family gang up on you and make a team out of just little old you, like little old you. And it happens. They link up with people that you thought were your friends and you find out, no, that was so messed up. I can't get over that. But you prayed and let go and let God. And, here you are, still surviving, survival mode. But yeah, that's that. But it's okay. It's fine. You get through it. You heal. You get creative. You sit into that isolation phase. At first, I hated the isolation phase. I hated it. I was like, this is so ridiculous. I'm so alone. But I'm a loner anyways. So you would think I would love it because I've lived alone. I loved living alone. It was one of my best times in my life was being alone in my apartment. But yeah, nothing prepares you for that isolation. But it gets it gets better. You definitely get to a point where you can sit with yourself and you're like, this is actually not bad. You get in peace, you're writing, you're journaling, you're walking, and you're talking to yourself like a normal person does, because there's nobody really else to talk to other than God. And if you're lucky enough to have a family that you created, you could talk to them, but you can't really talk to them. It's more just like talking to God. Sitting with God is what it is. But, I'm going to say one more story before I end this because I wanted to make this short and sweet for the first episode. I didn't want to keep going on and on. But I will say this. So today's my birthday. Isn't that odd to do a podcast first episode on birthday? But it just kind of happened like that. So my birthday falls sometimes every 4 years on Mother's Day. This year it happens to fall on Mother's Day. And yay, happy birthday to me. But the weirdest thing, it's maybe not weird, but yesterday, I was combing my hair and a gray hair came out, like a whole strand, not like it broke off. It was a full gray hair. And granted, I know I have gray hairs. I have probably about 3 or 5, I will say, the max. I've come across 3 of them. But, there's always more. But, I just learned to really appreciate my age. I love my age. I love getting older and stuff because it's wiser. And being the baby of the family, nobody takes you seriously. It doesn't matter how old you get, nobody takes you seriously. And it was like this gray hair came out. Other hairs came out, but it just grabbed my attention. And I just looked at this long gray hair. And the light was hitting it, the sunlight, because the window was kind of open and it was coming in and it was hitting this gray hair. And it was just so beautiful. And you know what I can take away from that? I am so grateful and appreciative that I can see the beauty in things at my age because growing up, the women in my family were bitter and angry. And I remember that as a kid. And that was another prayer I made to God. I was like, God, do not make me bitter and angry. No matter how old I get, don't allow me to get bitter and angry. And I'm not. I'm very lighthearted, happy person still to this day, kind of like a child in a way. I got that child spirit, but but I'm 41 and I'm proud of it. I don't care. I'll say it. I'm 41. And yeah, it was just beautiful. I was like looking I even saved my gray hair because I know I have gray hairs, but I've never had one come out combing. They're all in there still, they it hasn't come out. And I just saved it. I was like, this is really pretty. And I saved it. I put it in a Ziploc bag and I saved it. I mean, nobody does that. Most people are pulling them out and 15, 20 come out. I saved it because I was proud of that moment. I enjoyed the way it made me feel. I enjoyed the way the sunlight hit it. And I truly think it meant something. Like I'm somebody who thinks everything means something. So that's just how I am. Everything's a sign. Everything is just like means something. And what I did with that gray hair is I put it in a Ziploc bag, like I said to you, and I put it in my favorite book, which is The Alchemist. And I do that all the time. I don't know why. I like put it under my pillow and I have all these notes and all these affirmations and all these manifestations because if you ever read that book, The Alchemist, you know why. It's just an amazing book. But yeah, so I'm going to just end the podcast here, but this is not the end. We are going to have so much more things to come and to talk about and to discuss. But before I leave, I want to just, let you know where you can reach me on TikTok. The podcast, the TikTok page is Black Sheep Podcast. One is just all one word. So definitely find me, follow me there. And you can even email me if you have any ideas or if you have any opinions about the podcast, first episode, or things that you want to see. And the email is blacksheeppodcast1@gmail.com. And I also have a book that I wrote called Black Sheep. It's available on Amazon. And I feel like you guys will know when you see the book, like whose book it is, or you'll just feel something because that's how I feel. I wrote it and I'm proud of it. And yeah, so I just want to end it here for the first episode. And I just want to say thank you for anybody who listened fully through this podcast and say welcome to the first ever Black Sheep podcast. Long overdue. We're not all miserable and angry. We're just been through a lot. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here, happy to be doing this, happy to have the courage to do this. Because it's not an easy thing to just talk to millions of people or, who knows how many people this will reach. But I hope it gets to the people it needs to get to. So thank you for listening. And this is not the end. And we'll be talking real soon. Okay, bye.